What's up, Diablo 4 Druid? So massive update in Season 5 for the Druid. There are so many skills that we're going to be going over that actually have like double the stats. But I actually want to open up the video with actually the brand new uniques, as this will kind of open up the doors for more things to play around with. So starting off with the brand new uniques, we have one of them called the Bjorn Fang's Tusk unique gloves. It makes it so Cataclysm, which is the ultimate for the Druid, is going to be able to have the ability where it guarantees critical strikes to anything in the range, and we get to deal 40 to 80% X increased damage for the duration of the effect. While Cataclysm is active, you gain unlimited spirit. Now, what could be used for this is just for the unlimited spirit, but on top of that, just gaining this huge amount of 80x is pretty hard to beat for almost any build. And what I find very interesting, this actually lets you hybrid your ultimates, which is actually going to be quite big, because if you did run something like Nature's Fury, your ultimates can actually proc off of each other, which could be pretty dang big considering if you can keep up Cataclysm the whole time, get that massive damage, and then still be able to activate Petrify with one of the other uniques that is coming out in Season 5 as well. So these are some new gloves. We don't know the rest of the stats on them. However, there is another unique that we're getting, which is called the Basilisk, and this one we can see the stats, and the stats are actually very impressive for this two-handed staff. So the reason why it's very impressive is because you get earth attack speed, and that is a very big number, up to 25%. I mean, getting that greater affix, you're going to be able to easily cap your first section of your attack speed with the first bucket. And then there's also critical strike chance against stunned enemies, which goes up to 30%, which means it's 45 crit strike chance against stunned enemies, and that's going to be up pretty much the whole time that you have it, with the exception of course, the boss. Now, the other bonus over here, you get physical damage, then you get damage to crowd-controlled enemies, which is good too, because it will work off of the Paragon board on one of the nodes for the Druid, where it's like you get bonus damage. It's called Earth and Devastation versus Crowd Control. Now, there's actually going to be a nerf to the Storm Druid, because they actually have a cap on Thunderstruck, which previously had no bonus, but it doesn't really matter, because we're going to be going Earth in Season 5. So, going back to this over here, when you first hit an enemy with its special power, with an Earth skill, you get to petrify them for 3 seconds. Petrifying an enemy additionally deals some sort of amount of damage to it. The damage is actually pretty respectable. It's about half of a Tal Rasha, but that's not like lucky hit. That's the important thing. And I was like, wow, this is incredibly good. Now, the one thing I see that this will suffer from is kind of the same thing that Bear Druid already has a problem with, and that is dealing with the boss at the end of a pit, because obviously you're not going to be able to petrify them. And it says petrifying an enemy, which I'm not sure if that means that it'll still activate even if it doesn't freeze them to deal that damage. If you still get that damage without having to actually petrify them, so they are basically immobilized, right? Because if we go over the skill as far as petrify goes, this one encases them all, which actually does count as a stun, which I'm assuming that one counts as using the ultimate. But if we did go Cataclysm to utilize that extra bonus 80 X attack damage, then we couldn't put points into it, because how it works, I believe you can't put points into both of the things. Even though you can technically only equip one, you still can't put points into two different ultimates, which kind of sucks, because this grants you 50 spirit when cast, and its effect durations are increased by 1 second. So automatically, if you decide to go for, if it works with Petrify and you get this, 50 spirit on every single cast means infinite resource automatically. And then also killing an enemy can reduce the Petrify cooldown by 1 second. Now, what I find very interesting, it says hitting a boss with Petrify reduces its cooldown by 10 seconds, which means if that Petrify works on, that's just infinite Petrify, which will be pretty game breaking. And honestly, if this goes through, well, then this is going to be absolutely insane. But again, with Cataclysm even, now you get to increase the duration of it, and then on top of that, you can also make things vulnerable, which can be quite nice, because its lightning strikes from Cataclysm automatically make things vulnerable, which on the Druid you may need to throw, like, a chance to make something vulnerable, which could be something to consider. But I was also thinking about, like, what would we actually build with it, because Earthbreaker, while it is one of the brand new unique rings, a lot of builds may not even be playing it in the current season. Now, next season, you may want to consider running it, because there are massively buffing landslides, so it does even more damage. Now, it does say on the item here, where when you first hit an enemy, so I'm assuming that that's, like, if you have it, like, activating multiple times, it won't count. It's just every single time you use it. So stacking up a bunch of different attack speeds and other multipliers for physical damage would be ideal over here, because I think you could basically make a build off of just this dealing damage. But since you have all the stuff to match up with, like, the landslide and stuff, or even if you wanted to play a Werebear Druid with Pulverize to convert it to an Earth skill, you actually get the bonus over there, which is quite nice. And if we go over to landslide over here, it actually can hit quite a amount of times, but it is a earth over here, but it still counts as physical damage, so that's the most important thing. It's not earth damage, which is great. So yeah, this thing will be kind of fun to mess around with. We'll see how it goes, but if you can hybrid out your ultimates and you're constantly using Petrify, then you could actually activate, potentially, again, if you run Nature's Fury, you get the Cataclysm, and then you have Infinite Cataclysm, which makes it so you have Unlimited Spirit as well. Like, this is super exciting, and I feel like this might be the top tier build for Druids. And again, if the thing still deals the damage, this could be one of the best builds in the entire game. So I'm really excited to check out Druid and PTR, which comes out literally tomorrow. So I'll be dropping gameplay very soon of that. But on top of that, we have legendary aspects, the aspect of rushing mobility. So when we use a companion skill, we get movement speed, whatever. It's still cool, though, that we get extra movement speed, because the Druid doesn't have insane mobility unless you're playing the Shred Druid, which is actually getting a buff. Then, Tempering Recipes. We also have a bunch of cooldown reduction for all of the ultimates. Now, unfortunately, this build is getting destroyed. One of the builds that I just dropped a video on, which is the Infinite Ultimate Druid, where you can stay in Grizzly Rage the whole time. Unfortunately, guys, they are nerfing it. I guess it was too powerful. But nonetheless, those are some of the changes. Now, we also have more changes that I want to go into, which now we can actually get bonus ranks for Clarity. Now, what's interesting with this, if you go to Clarity, which is over here, it gives you, now if you get like a Greater Affix one, you could basically have 100% crit after you activate a companion skill. The next core or wrath skill's damage gets, damage and crit strike chance gets increased. So that is going to be actually pretty crazy. And even though a lot of people may be dropping Shepherds because it's getting basically destroyed next season, you still may be able to still run the Companions. And to explain why, is there is a build where you would go into Werebear, and then you would have like your next skill would then overpower, right? So then you would have the ability to activate a Companion skill. That Companion skill gives you crazy amounts. Again, this goes up to, well, I'm hoping that this number gets increased, because you can see as I put points into it, that gets increased, right? So what this could mean, you cycle through all of them, and then you could get like 100x plus damage. So Clarity is going to be, I don't know if it's going to be placing in Venom for every build, but I can easily see, because you get crit strike chance and the damage gets increased. So it's like two different things that you're getting multiplied here, and you get both of those, you go and play the Hurricane Druid, and you will be deleting content. So that's actually a pretty big thing, because that would mean you may not even need to get crit on any rolls, and you just have 100% crit. Because if you guys haven't seen how Hurricane plays, it basically waits for the bear thing, you activate it, and you just delete everything. That's how it works. Anyways, Landslide, we're getting a massive, pretty much double DPS on that. The damage area also got increased, so bigger AoE, and then they doubled the amount of pillars. So not only do you get double damage, and then the total damage got increased from 70 to 80%. Like, they're just saying, guys, just play Landslide. It's going to be the best build. That was huge. And then I was like, okay, hold on. We also get some massive buffs to Shred. I mean, this is basically double of the stats, which is really cool. I really like Shred. It's one of my top favorite things. The one problem, though, that I will admit with Shred is on the bosses, because there's not enough enemies to poison from one of, like, the poison bonuses that you get, which is like a 45x multiplier. That is the main problem that you'll have, but we'll see what the other new endgame content is, as if you can get some pit material in there, you may not even need to worry about that. Now, I was already, like, sold off on Landslide. I'm like, okay, confirmed Landslide is probably the best thing. And then they're like, okay, we're gonna basically double the pulverized damage, which already got some crazy buffs. So the damage got buffed from 50% to 92.5. And then they're like, okay, hold on, Tornado is also gonna be doubled. However, there's a massive nerf to any sort of storm builds. And that is because they're gonna be nerfing a passive on the Paragon, which I'll explain in a second. It basically has a cap now. And then Lightning Storm, the damage got buffed. Hurricane damage buffed. And remember, guys, I was already saying Hurricane's going to be crazy, and then there's doubling it again. So it's going to be so good. And then because of that Clarity node, what really sucked before is Ravens, Poison Creeper, and I guess with the wolves, you can just activate them while moving. But basically, you can use these while moving. Assuming these don't break animations, you could still use a skill while having this, and then it's just going to feel a lot smoother. So I like this. This is a huge quality of life thing. And then on top of that, lacerate damage area got increased, and casting lacerate now teleports the target area instead of starting at the caster. I don't think this matters at all. I actually did try a Shred build with lacerate. This is the skill that no one uses, and they still won't use it, sadly. And the reason why is this itself doesn't do enough damage. And even though you can get this thing where you can get increased damage for 10 seconds, even if you're to run Flicker Step, you actually still lose DPS because this thing takes so long to activate. If you push the button once and it instantly did all the damage and then would give you that huge multiplier, then I could see it actually seeing some play because you would just use this for the X40 damage. Unfortunately, because it takes so dang long and you do 0 DPS basically when you use this, I didn't like that at all. I think that was the big problem with this. So I'll give him some feedback. We'll see how it works. But again, the main problem is it takes too dang long. If it just teleports and activates instantly and it doesn't sit there for a long duration, then I could see it being good. Then Cataclysm, the lightning strike rate is doubled. Now, again, with most of the ultimates in Diablo 4, and I've kind of complained about this already, but a lot of the ultimates in general in this game don't deal damage. If you look at the reason why most people even equip an ultimate, it's to activate some sort of like bonus damage or whatever. And now we have a reason to play this because it just gives us 80x damage. Hopefully the gloves will roll with some crit. And there's actually another thing that I thought was interesting. If we can consistently have that ability, there is a thing that you can get where we're like, when you cast a, what is it, storm skill, whenever you, what is it, let's type in storm skill. It's like whenever you use a storm skill, it grants your earth skills. Now, I'm not sure if this works off of Nature's Fury. I believe you actually have to cast this yourself. But nonetheless, when you use a storm skill, it boosts up your earth skills. That'd be really cool if it kind of has some sort of synergy with it. And then also when you cast an earth skills, it increases the crit strike chance of your storm skills for a set amount of duration. So it wants you to kind of play hybrid, but that could be kind of something to maybe look at. And then Grizzly Rage, I already mentioned, unfortunately, the build that we just dropped the guide on, this is getting nerfed in Season 5. If you guys want to play it, play this right now. You still got like a month left to play this Druid build, which it literally is the easiest build in the entire game. And, well, I guess it's too good because they're nerfing it, which kind of makes me sad because it was fun to play. But basically, how it works is the cooldown starts after it ends. Before, it would just start as soon as you use it, and so you didn't really need cooldown reduction with the build at all, because you would just get extended Grizzly Rage duration off of one of the tempers. But again, we're going to be playing Landside, we're probably going to be playing other Earth variants later down the line anyways. But anyways, now you shapeshift for 10 seconds and you gain 30x bonus damage, so you do get more damage over here. And then, yeah, it only the duration cannot go above 10 seconds, which I'm pretty sure it only increased it up to 5 anyways. So we are getting an extended duration here, and then on top of that, extra damage. But because you can't keep it up infinitely, especially when you run one of the other aspects to grant yourself the extended duration, and you get like a good amount of crit strike like damage. You can get up to like 200x like crit damage, which is pretty dang good. But again, this is getting deleted, so I wouldn't really care about the buff because the build's like done. Anyways, next up, Debilitating Roar. The damage reduction got decreased, so that is a nerf to it, but it's fine. I didn't play it in that build anyways. Next up, Earthen Borg. This is a nice buff. So instead of it being based off of your base life, it is now your maximum life, so that's going to be huge. Cyclone Armor. Since we're not running Shepherds, I think almost every Druid build, if you have an extra slot, throw in Cyclone Armor. It's just free damage reduction. Shepherd now is deleted out of the game, unless you are playing Companions, which I don't know if that's going to be good in Season 5. But the companion skills get extra damage for each companion you have, so, I mean, it's just for companions now. And then we have Skinwalker. So when we use a shapeshifting skill, we'd gain a whole 2 to 5 life, which is bad. Now you gain 5 to 20% life, which is way better. I mean, getting 20% life on every single, like, shapeshift is, like, huge. So this is going to be great for any, like, long extended fights where you run out of potions, so again, maybe better for the pit. And then we have Aftershock, the delay, second set of Landside slightly decreased, so I'm guessing this would be a buff because it activates faster. Lupine Ferocity, reduce the amount of hits from 6 to 3 from benefiting this effect. This is something that, like, no one plays at all. This is a thing where, like, every 6th werewolf skill gets a guaranteed crit and you get 70x damage, but then you get 140x, which sounds really good, but it's only against injured, so it's like forgettable. Getting 70x on every 3rd hit versus, oh, I could just, like, even if you were to play like a Shred or a lot of the wolf variants, except for like maybe like the Tornado, but like there's no reason why you wouldn't just run Bestial Rampage. It's like just objectively way better, or if you wanted to mix in other things, that's another option, but like this is just way better. 50x damage permanently. Well, you do have to go into Werebear for 2 seconds, so you're gonna do that in a lot of the Druid builds anyways. Versus just getting 70x crit. This is just 50x the whole time and 30% additional attack speed. There's no competition. So either they nerf Bestial Rampage, which I hope that they don't nerf, or just make this literally like every hit or something like that. That'd be kind of cool. it'd be so much better because it's every third, so you would get the number and divide that by, because it requires you to hit what, every third hit is like basically, yeah, you divide it by 3. So 70 divided by 3 is the stats that you're getting. Whereas this is 100% up. Yeah, you do have to turn to Werebear, but what you do is you would shout or do like a mobility skill in between packs, and it doesn't really feel that bad. But yeah, I just think that unfortunately that thing is still going to see 0 play. And then Vigilance, the damage reduction for each skill rank got increased. Then we got Iron First, so another set of damage reduction. Again, if you put 3 points, it's basically 3% extra damage reduction. Damage reduction from each skill got from 2 to 3 from Heightened Senses. So all of this adds up. You get 3% damage reduction here. You get another 3, that's 6% damage reduction. And then Metamorphic Stone Aspect no longer removes Wrath skill tag from Boulder, which is great because removing it made it so if you got ranks to Wrath, which was actually kind of a design in their flaw with, I believe, the Dolmen Stone, because it gave you +3 to Wrath skills, but then it would delete itself and go to Core skill. So that was just like a really bad, poorly designed thing that they actually did fix, so that's great. And then Paragon, the Thunderstruck. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. Massive, massive nerf. This previously had no cap. You go as high as you want. I hate this idea of caps on all the Paragon legendary nodes, but the reality is they got to keep the game in check somehow, and that's what they're doing. The Human, the bonus damage got increased, and the damage reduction also got increased because no one really was playing this, but now with Cataclysm, maybe some sort of landslide, if you don't want to convert yourself into a Werebear, then that would be an option. We have Protector, it's another 5% damage reduction, and we're getting like 20 plus damage reduction on a lot of these builds. Look at this, more tankiness, more tankiness. I really wish, though, that we would get one more aspect for Werebear to reduce the damage that we would take, even though it's supposed to be already pretty tanky with all of these buffs. I feel like in the defensive department, there needs to be just one more extra thing while in a Druid, maybe after you cast an Earth or a certain skill or something. Just one more damage reduction thing would have been quite nice for the Druid, just in case, you know, some players just kind of lack that damage reduction earlier on. They're still missing the Harlequin. It would really help out, because if you look at a lot of the uniques just in general for the Druid, they don't have insane amounts of like really great defensive stats. There is on here poison resistance, but if that was like some sort of damage reduction, because Tempest Roar is very important for a lot of builds, and some people are even playing Vasili's Prayer, well, this does give you that extra maximum life. And lightning resistance, I think just getting some other source. It doesn't have to be in the uniques, although this would be a nice change just for like 5-10% damage reduction in addition to its stats. But just like another aspect to throw in damage reduction, I think would really help out the Druid. But it's probably looking pretty good already. But those are the new updates with the Druid. There might be a couple other bug fixes at the bottom over here with Druid that we can check out. So Nature, Magic, Innovation, Druid Utility. So we have Hurricane Size, okay, and then Lightning Storm. These got from Storm Augment, so they're moving some of these to other areas, so you can actually get utility here and just get Hurricane Size. And I was talking about Hurricane earlier, where remember we can get guaranteed 100% crit and 100x damage potentially if, again, you get that Masterwork. It's 15x per point if we get 4 points. Yeah, it's they're pretty nice numbers. That's like 60, what is that, 60% already, and then we get an extra 30, right? Oh, let me actually check this. Like, this is what I think actually has some potential. Oh, we can't modify it on here because it doesn't exist in the game yet. But yeah, this already with 3 points is 45. We get a greater affix, and that's not even counting the master working on this. You get your crit strike chance to over 100%, and then you also get your damage 100x'd. And remember, you only have to cast this every single like time you go into a hurricane. So you would activate this, you would have you obviously get as much duration and stuff as possible. Then you reactivate all of your stuff, and then you have 100% crit, and then you have 100x damage. I think that that has a lot of potential. And now the size is going to be bigger, so that's cool. And it's moved off of, I guess, the Storm Augments. So that's awesome. We also have Petrified Duration, which could be good, and then Cyclone Armor got changed as well. And then other Druid bug fixes, more weapon types, so they can use polearms, one-handed swords. I don't think I see DoomBringer being incorporated in here. Again, with that brand new staff, that's what everyone's going to want to play, because you get basically an ultimate. On every single attack, you straight up get an ultimate. Like, they could take away the Grizzly Rage. Like, even though I was kind of disappointed when I read that, honestly, I'm so excited to see literally every single time I hit an enemy, I get like an ultimate, and it deals half of the damage of a Talrasha. I mean, imagine, oh, not Talrasha, the Andariels. So that number is so big already, and again, it is technically using a two-hander, but all the stats on it are, like, the first 2 stats on it are good enough to where I think that people will want to use it. Anyways, let me know, guys, what you are most excited to play with Druid. I think there are so many options with, again, Clarity, I think Hurricane Druid's going to be pretty insane. Landslide, maybe you can do something with Pulverize still, even though we had a nerf there. Well, we can convert it to an Earth skill, and then we constantly get, like, that big, insane damage. I think it's going to be awesome. Or we run that new set of gloves. Like, Druid is probably going to be maybe my first class I'm going to be playing on Season 5 tomorrow. Anyways, if you guys want to see gameplay of any of the stuff I'm talking about, hit subscribe, turn the bell, and hopefully tomorrow, as long as the servers don't get crashed on Season 5 at the start, we'll be dropping lots and lots of gameplay, and I want to cover the Druid for sure. Anyways, let me know what you're most excited to play with, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.